Quasi here, and in this video I'm going to share with you how you can increase your self-esteem and really the biggest problem that most people run into and why they suffer from self-esteem issues, and how this has been conditioned within you as you grew up and how you unconsciously internalized it, which brought you into this place right now where you suffer from a lack of self-esteem, which prevents you from doing the things you knew you otherwise could do. And really by the end of this video, what you're going to learn are the 3 biggest problems that most people run into who try to take up their self-esteem, and what you should do and what you should avoid doing to really avoid these pitfalls. I want you to stick around to the very end of this video because we're going to get deep down into the subconscious mind, how it works and how you can take control of it to program yourself the way you would like to, and to have the self-esteem and the confidence that you would like to have. Before I begin this video, I want to quickly announce that a couple of spots have opened up for the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery Program. Make sure you wait around till the end of the video for the announcement on how to sign up for that. And with that, let's get started. So in this video, I want to talk to you about self-esteem and self-esteem issues, self-confidence issues, things that prevent you from doing things that you knew you could do if you just felt a little bit more confident, and why you keep getting in your way every single time. Now, why I want to discuss this topic is because for entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur watching this video, this is going to be very, very powerful for you. Someone who's a business owner, someone who's a professional, you start to see that you start to hit this plateau in your life, and you start to have all of these subconscious limiting beliefs, right? A sign of a limiting belief literally means this belief is limiting you in your current comfort zone or sector of reality. So you can't experience much more. And why this happens again is because of this internal lack of self-worth. You don't believe you're worthy, so you stay stuck with what you are comfortable with. Oh, no, this is only for me. Oh, the 100K a year salary is only for me. I'm not able to make more. Oh, I'm comfortable with this. I just want to enjoy this. I should be grateful for what I have, which prevents you from, expanding out and experiencing more of what you want to, right? So this kind of leads you into stagnation. It makes you stagnate in your life and unable to put one foot in front of the other and go towards what you want because of these limiting beliefs. And if you do put one foot forward, you eventually take up a step back, right? So I've started to see this happening in my life, especially when I started off in entrepreneurship. I was like, why would people pay me thousands of dollars for my coaching services? Who the heck am I? Blah, blah, blah. And all of these limitations that I had, which even prevented me from going out there and presenting myself comfortably. And then this started to leak out into every single area of my life, not just my coaching business, my lack of self-worth with women, my inability to do certain things and take up certain challenges. And even, in my fitness, trying to lift, bench more, or try out higher weights at the gym. Like, oh no, I won't be able to lift that. So it started to leak out into every single area of my life. So I started to question it. Like, why is this happening? Why do I have this lack of self-esteem? Where does this even stem from? Which took me into a deep journey of trying to figure it out. And then, I put out this video, if you click up here, about the subconscious mind, how it works. Sometimes I remember I would make videos and I would be very, very uncertain. I'm like, oh, what would people think about this? Or what if some people don't like this, etc., and etc., which would affect my self-esteem a lot. So really what I want you to know is where this lack of self-esteem arises from is your unconscious mind. You can call it your subconscious, you can call it whatever, but it's your unconscious, right? I made a video previously about how much of your mind, your total being, is conscious. 5% of it is conscious, 5% of it is subconscious, and the rest, 90%, consists of the collective and the unconscious mind. Okay, so it's like that iceberg analogy you might have seen, where like a little bit of it, maybe 5% of it is at the top and the rest of the iceberg is under the water, right? So in understanding that, we know that it arises from the unconscious, but something must have put it in the unconscious in the first place, right? People aren't born with a lack of self-esteem, I can tell you that. And even if they are, you can nurture your way out of it. So there is nature versus nurture. So this again goes back to yogic, karmic, studies where you understand the concept of sanchita karma and prarabdha karma, and the allocation of karma that you're supposed to burn out in this lifetime. We don't need to know that. What you do need to know is that as you've grown up, as you've accustomed and experienced certain things and events in your life, it's the meaning that you put onto these events that have ingrained themselves into your unconscious. So let's really understand how this happens. So again, I told you to check up this video about the subconscious mind, but I'm going to give you a demonstration itself of how you get programmed unconsciously. So initially what happens is it always begins as a thought, right? A thought comes to your mind. You think a thought. There are two qualities of thoughts. There is an incoming thought and an outgoing thought. Okay, I want you to pay close attention to this. This is what we call the self-reprogramming cycle. If you can understand this, your life is going to completely change. You can take control of this and break out of this rhythm you've been living in. So please pay close attention to the very end of this video. You have incoming thoughts and you have outgoing thoughts. So let's differentiate them. Incoming thoughts are the thoughts, you sort of get data. You get data from your environment. Someone says something, oh, society's in turmoil, oh, COVID, oh, recession, oh, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. It's all of this data that you're collecting. But someone processes this data, right? According to your level of consciousness, you process this data. If you're conscious, you're going to process this data to a way that benefits you. If you're unconscious, you're going to process the data in a way that you've been accustomed to processing it. So you process this data and then you put out an outgoing thought, right? So an incoming thought eventually becomes an outgoing thought for most people. When you get unconsciously conditioned, someone tells you you're not good enough. Oh, you can't do this. This is only for rich people. Oh, you can't do this. You don't have the skills to do this. Oh, you can't be an entrepreneur. Oh, you can't be a business owner. It's only for the 1%. You're not the 1%. Oh, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. All of these ideas get ingrained within you, right? So then this eventually starts to become an outgoing thought where you start to echo and think about these more and more. You keep thinking about, oh no, I'm losing all my hair, so I can't present myself the way I used to. I don't have that sense of vigor about me. Oh, I'm not like that. I'm not supposed to be a coach, even though I want to be, even though I'm really good at it. I can't present my services with confidence. So this then becomes the outgoing thought that you project out. But what happens is when the incoming thoughts come and the outgoing thoughts are produced, there is an emotional reaction to it, right? So there's an emotional reaction to it, which ties in the emotion. When the thought and the emotion comes together, if you think about a thought and you think, oh, well, I'm not good enough, it makes you feel bitter. It's like, oh, shit, I'm not good enough. You have an emotional reaction to it. When that happens, this then becomes a belief. Really think about it. There are things you believe that you shouldn't be believing. There are these certain beliefs that you have that you have, but you just can't work against them, which is ridiculous, right? And that's because they've become a very, very deep level of belief in your subconscious. So when a thought and an emotion comes together, it becomes a belief. When this belief occurs, what happens is you start to filter out for things that support this belief, because this belief starts to form your worldview. My lack of self-esteem. Oh, I'm not good enough. Let's look for proof where I am not good enough. Ah, see, that didn't work out, so I'm not good enough. And then you start to filter out every single information where you could be good enough, only to look for why you're not good enough. So to think about it this way, when I would present my YouTube videos, I would look at other people who would have lots of subscribers on their channels, and I'd be like, oh, what makes me like them? Back when I had 100, 200 subscribers, oh, no one would listen to my stuff. Why is my stuff different from theirs? And so I would have this limiting belief, which kept me stuck in this cycle of trying to put out videos and coming from a place of a lack of confidence. Even if you looked at my previous videos, you would see this lack of confidence coming about me. There was this sort of hesitation, this sort of doubting myself, and this sort of wavering about my energy, right? If you look at some of my previous videos, you'll see that from a long time ago. But what was different back then was I had this framework of belief that I'm not good enough. So every single thing that I did, every single information that I filtered out for, all echoed the lack of good enough, right? So then this kept me stuck in this cycle until I became conscious and took the reins and changed this. So we're going to talk about how to change this in a second. But what you've got to know is when the belief forms, it triggers this thing in your nervous system called the reticular activating system, the RAS. And that's what the reticular activating system does. Your reticular activating system makes you have a certain lens to filter out certain other things. So let's say you could have done 10 things that were good, that were amazing. You could have, for me, I would have made 10 videos that were absolutely awesome. People were like, oh my God, that's so awesome. This video helped me so much, Quasi. Thank you for that. But then this one person would come and be like, this video is fucking shit. And I'd be like, oh my God, this video is really shit. That's the one I would focus on into, right? Instead of focusing on the 10 things that were good, I would look at the one thing that was bad, and that would confirm my worldview. Because that's the hypothesis that I came in with. Your belief colors your hypothesis. Then you start to filter out for things that support this belief, because now your RAS is programmed. So now what happens is once your RAS gets programmed, you start to look for confirmation of this. So you start to look for proof that would confirm this. Okay? And when you do find confirmation, as the confirmations build up and build up and build up over time, this unconscious repetition of this false belief, now it becomes a conviction. Okay? So this is how you cycle from having a thought to having it evolve into a belief to having it evolve into a conviction. There are certain convictions that you have that you shouldn't even be having. Right? So this lack of self-esteem thing, the inability to go out there and charge the prices that you know your service is worth, that the transformation you provide is worth. I speak to people who provide awesome services and have gotten their clients amazing results, but they charge peanuts for it. I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? People, so to give you an example, we had a client recently who was like, she was charging, $2,500 to help families, help their kids recover from substance abuse. Right? Help relatives and family members recover from substance abuse. And she was providing that service. But her limiting belief was, I shouldn't be charging for this. I'm doing a social service, blah, blah, blah. But again, if you don't pay, you don't commit. So I'm like, you should be charging for this. And you should be charging a shit ton of money for this. Because people need to commit to what you're providing so that they take action on it and actually get the results from it. You're doing them a service if you charge for your services and if you charge appropriately for your services. Right? Because I'm sure they're spending tens of thousands of dollars on rehabilitation, right? So if they can spend 10K on rehab, why can't you charge, 5K for your service, which then they would take action on, actually complete and get awesome results out of, right? So these are these limiting beliefs that plague people, and they don't know how to break out of it because they've become so deeply ingrained, such a deep conviction in your unconscious mind, it gets difficult to break out of. So now what I want to share with you is how to actually break out of these and the 3 biggest problems people encounter and why they can't raise their self-esteem. Okay, so problem number 1, which is the biggest problem, is resistance. Let's talk about that. And what do I mean by that? When people first find out that they have this problem, right? They have this problem of, I have a lack of self-esteem. This is what's going on, and this is why I can't go out there and confidently present my services. By the way, it's not even just about getting a client. At some point, what happens is this lack of confidence and self-esteem starts to reflect out in your communication with your existing clients as well. So what I would see in the past is when I would communicate with my clients because I wasn't fully confident about the solution I was offering and I didn't come at it with that kind of energy, they wouldn't listen to my advice and they wouldn't take that advice. So part of being a successful coach means literally being convinced about you. You're constantly selling yourself. You're constantly putting yourself out there. You're making yourself vulnerable. Even when I'm making this video right now, I'm making myself vulnerable. Someone's going to see it and they're not going to like it. Who cares? I'm thinking about and focusing on the 10 people that I will benefit now, as opposed to the one person who's probably going to be a troll and hate on this, right? So understand that this resistance problem comes in when you try to resist your lack of self-esteem. So what you do is you think, I have a lack of self-esteem. Okay, don't have this. Let's try to be confident. Let's puff up my chest and do a million different affirmations to be more confident, right? So really think about it. How many affirmations have you done trying to tell yourself, I'm confident every single day, I get more confident, I'm confident, I'm confident. You can tell yourself that all you want, but without proof, without confirmation, the mind will never accept it, right? So that way you can't ever change your beliefs. So resisting it is absolutely futile. Now, what happens is, and the most effective thing to do is, I'm gonna demonstrate this with a scale. Okay, so let's say you have this scale, and one side of it is you are very confident, right? So you are confident, and this other side of it, you are unconfident. People begin here, and they try to go here. They try to force themselves and resist it to go here. It's a futile, it really is a losing battle because the more you keep resisting it, the more you keep strengthening it. Think about it this way. If you were going on a highway, right, and you look at the car next to you, and you focus on avoiding that car. You're like, oh, that car is getting too close to me. Let's focus on avoiding it. So you keep looking at that car instead of like moving towards what you want to move towards. Your focal point is on what you want to get away from rather than what you want to move towards. Because of that, you develop what's called as target fixation. And as a result of that, you keep moving towards that car on the highway instead of moving away from it, even though you're focusing on moving away from it. Just like that, life doesn't care about what you focus on. It doesn't care about the nature of your focus, but the content of your focus. If you keep focusing on moving away from a lack of confidence, it's going to move towards the lack of confidence, right? So this is where this resistance phenomenon comes in. The more you try to resist your lack of confidence, the more you're going to have this lack of confidence and affirm to yourself that, yes, I am unconfident. Really think about it this way. Do you think successful people sit in their rooms all day muttering affirmations to themselves? No. They just move towards what they want to move towards. You know, they're just always 100% intention, 100% action. They don't really like ponder upon these things. The more you dwell upon these things, the more they become a problem for you, right? So just like that, this whole scale becomes a losing battle. Don't try to be confident. You can't. You can't try to be confident. Even when you're trying to be confident, you are unconfident. You're trying to be confident because you're not confident. The only way, like really think about it this way, confident people don't really see themselves as confident. They just see themselves as they are, right? It's just, oh, this is just me. This is just unashamedly vulnerable me. Confident people are actually vulnerable. Brené Brown talks about this a lot. Confident people are absolutely vulnerable. Like think about a time in your life when you've done something courageous and didn't put yourself on the line. You know, you didn't have to do something vulnerable. You can't do anything courageous without doing something vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable all the time. If you want to be confident, you've got to be vulnerable and accept yourself for who you are. The way you break out of this cycle, the solution to problem number one is to ditch this cycle, this scale altogether. Just completely ditch this scale of confidence and non-confidence and get into acceptance. Okay? Acceptance about how your life has been up until this point. Acceptance about what you're wanting to do. Acceptance about what you want. It's what you want. Don't try to sweep your desires under the rug. Don't try to hide yourself in a shell because you feel ashamed. Just be. You know, just accept it. If you keep thinking certain thoughts that, you know, you think that if other people were to listen to these thoughts, they'll be like, oh shit, this guy's a psycho. Accept yourself. You know, that's the best thing you can do instead of trying to resist these thoughts. The more you resist these thoughts, the more they build this karma, and then the more it'll become a reality. Okay? So if you have this lack of self-confidence, right? If you're going out there every single day, you're trying to put up a front about being confident. Don't. Just accept who you are right now. Allow yourself to be you. Okay? Acceptance plus allowing. Allow yourself to be non-judgmentally, unjudgingly, unashamedly you. Because if you do that, people will start to see your true value as well. And then you naturally become confident. So that is what true confidence is. True confidence is stopping this incessant focus on me, and why I'm not good enough and why I'm lack. And you direct your focus outwards. You accept yourself for what you are and you look at what you're trying to accomplish. I hope that makes sense. This is very, very important, and this is something that needs to be internalized. So to give you an example of how I did this in my personal life, I stopped looking at me. You know, when I wanted to go out there and present my services, I stopped looking at me and I started looking at my clients. What do they need to help them succeed? What do they need to help them make this transformation? When I started to focus on not me pitching my services, but more so solving a problem for a client, that's when I actually had a genuine conversation and trying to understand this other person. That's when I became vulnerable with this other person. That's when I could share these videos like I'm doing with you guys, you know, without trying to do some salesy, gimmicky thing. Because I just want to share value and see how I can help you guys. Because I know if I help people, the sales are going to come. It's just like, you know, if you're doing something you're passionate about, what you're meant to do, the money's going to come. It's going to be a byproduct of it, right? So it's about shifting that focus of going to the results to go into the process itself. Okay? So it's becoming process oriented as opposed to results oriented. That's what you got to remember. Most people become results oriented and they look at themselves, right? So they try to make it a win-lose situation. Like, how can I make myself good so I can sell? Instead of looking at the other person and accepting yourself for who you are. That is very, very important. If you're an entrepreneur listening to this, this is the one advice that's probably going to change your life. Okay? That's problem number one. Getting into this resistance mode, holding on to this scale of confidence and a lack of confidence. Not serving you. Problem number two is the lack of groundedness. Okay, let's call it groundedness. What do I mean by that? Well, it's just that you have this lack of patience and you expect everything to happen overnight. That's what I mean by the lack of groundedness. So to give you an example, you make this decision. Let's say you're going to raise your prices for your program and what you offer. You're going to raise your prices and you want to go out there and charge the new price. You go a couple of times, you make a couple of offers, you get a couple of no's and you're like, oh, maybe this isn't working. I'll go back to my old price. So now you're not committing to that direction. Just like that with people who get into entrepreneurship, right? They quit their 9-to-5s and they commit. They're like, okay, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. And then they go in that direction. They try out the different things, but they're not fully committed. They're half committed. They're half committing to this. They're like gas on and the brakes on at the same time. So because of that, when it doesn't work, they're like, see, it didn't work. It's confirming that belief, that hypothesis they came in with. This is what you're saying to yourself when you're not grounded and you're half committing. You're saying, it's not going to work anyways, so I'm going to half commit. Do you see that? It's not going to work anyway, so I'll just have a foot on the gas and a foot on the brake. But when you say, no, somehow it's going to work, I don't give a shit, somehow it's going to work, and you just go all in and you just double down on it. You make these uncomfortable decisions and these uncomfortable leaps, and I can't tell you how many of my clients I've seen do that, and because of that, they've become successful. If you click up here, you're going to see an interview I did with Tia, one of our clients. She went from doing $50K a year, working 80 hours a week. She wanted to create generational wealth for her family and break this curse. She doubled down on herself, invested in the program, even though she was 175, 200K in debt. She was 25K in credit card debt, still came into the program, went through it, used the materials, and every single time she took another leap, another leap, and another leap. Right? So she was then, after joining the program, she quickly went to 120K a year salary from a 50K a year. And she saw that still, this wasn't tier 2.0. This wasn't what she wanted to do. She wanted her own business, her own clinic. And she took the leap again. Her boss confronted her and her boss said, look, you can quit this job. Okay? You can quit this job and go to do what you want to do, your business, which is generating nothing at the moment, or you can stay here. You can do one or the other. She said, I'm going to do my business. Even though she had a cushy, comfy 120 grand a year job. And her business at the time was generating absolute nothing. But she still took the leap and went full in. She said, you know what? I don't care. I'm in debt. I'm going to go all in on this. What's the worst that could happen? I'll come back to a job. Right? So this is the way she balanced it out. So this is how she fully committed to that direction. And now guess what happened? She's quickly, like within a couple of months, brought her business up to now doing 10K a month. Now she can work the hours that she wants to work, do 120 grand a year in her business, but at the same time, now she has potential to scale up to doing $250,000 a year, even more, $500,000 a year. If she hires more people, more instructors for her clinic, she could easily scale up. So this is the power of doubling down on yourself and being grounded in what you actually want to move towards rather than what you actually have. It becomes a difficult thing to do when you have all of these obligations, but you've still got to show yourself that, you know what, this is my full-time thing. So to give you an example, even when I was at my 9-to-5, when I made these videos, I would still make it as though, you know what, this is what I'm going to do full-time. I'm going to, share value, help people, make transformations happen. This is what I'm going to do full-time. And I tried to show myself every single time that I am committed to this by making uncomfortable decisions that I wouldn't otherwise make. I would invest in different courses, different programs, different coaches to help me learn how to become better at this, and I would just move up every single time. And then I made the uncomfortable decision to fully go ahead and just quit. Right? I just told my parents, look, I'm going to quit this internship, this engineering internship. I'm going to go ahead and do what I want to do. And I doubled down on that. I never looked back. Most people, they double down on it, right? And then they keep looking back. They're like, oh no, what have I done? This is so scary. And then they try to, revert their decisions. So they're in this state of uncertainty. It's just like Napoleon Hill says, successful people make quick decisions and rarely ever change their minds. Unsuccessful people make very slow decisions and always change their minds. If they have a little bit of anxiety, they just go hide back in their shells instead of owning up to it and saying, you know what, I am anxious. I am uncomfortable with this decision, but I know I can. You look forward at what you do want. I know that if I double down on this, something good is going to come out of it. Every single time. This is the thing, groundedness and committing fully to the direction, doubling down to what you want. That's what helped me move forward, right? So what I want you to know is problem number 2 is groundedness. How do you solve a lack of commitment? How do you solve this groundedness problem, right? And this groundedness problem is again happening because of your lack of self-esteem, right? So in order to solve that, you don't go 0 to 100 real quick, but you build up to it, right? You start to build up more and more to making those uncomfortable decisions. Because if you try to if you've been waking up at 10 a.m. every single day, and the next morning you try to wake up at 5 a.m., you're going to be jumping poles. So go from 10 a.m. to 8 a.m. to 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 5 a.m. So you build that muscle over time. You can't just bench 200 pounds today and just go to 600 pounds the next day. You've got to build up to benching that much. Also, I believe it would be difficult to bench 600 pounds anyways, but it's still doable. But anyway, that's what I mean. You've got to progress slowly instead of trying to jump the gun. Most people try to jump the gun. They go from, you know what? My program is $1,000. I'm going to start charging $10,000 for it. Yeah, way to commit. And then when it doesn't work and they have no valid basis, no belief that it will, because you can't grasp that big of a jump so quickly. You've got to make the small jumps first. You've got to hit the smaller milestones first. So you've always got to, the key principle to know, the solution to this, to know the balance, is to know that you've always got to lean over the edge without falling off. Always look to expand yourself without falling off. Okay? That's how you solve problem number 2. Slowly work your way up to committing bigger and bigger. And if you do commit to a really, really big direction, commit. Consciously tell yourself, I'm going to commit, and never look back. Problem number 3. This is the simplest, yet most people overlook this, is clarity. Why you're not confident is because you're not clear. What do I mean by that? I want you to think about it this way. If you were clear about what you truly wanted and where you wanted to go and who it is you needed to become, it would just be a matter of putting one foot in front of the other and going towards it, right? There's nothing more to that. You know what you want. Just go out and get it. But the problem is you don't really know what you want. You think you want this, and then the next day you change your mind, and then you change your mind, and you change your mind. There is intellectual clarity around what you want, but no emotional clarity to back it up. And that's why you're not confident in doubling down on your decisions, because you just don't know where you're going to be. You're like, oh, I don't know where I'm going to be 5 years from now. I don't know what I want for my life 10 years from now. Develop a longer term vision. What do you want? Do you want to be in control and choose what you want? Or do you want to unconsciously follow the route you've been following? You know, it's kind of like knowing the end to a movie, but you still want to see how this unfolds. This is how you're crafting your life. This is how it should be. You know, you look at what you truly want 5, 10, 20 years from now, but the fun, the adventure becomes, how does this unfold? Most people don't want to set goals because deep down they're afraid of losing that adventure and that fun of not knowing what comes next. But at the same time, you really don't know what comes next. It could happen, it could not. Why not just set a direction for you to follow? So again, get clear about what you truly want for your life, and confidence will naturally come. You know, and this clarity comes as you keep putting one foot in front of the other in the right direction in the first place. Because right now, this is uncharted territory. You can't fully see how everything is going to unfold all of the time. But what you can know is this is the direction, this is the compass, this is my North Star, this is where I want to go. So you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and the terrain, becomes clearer and clearer for you as you put one foot in front of the other. That's the key, not getting hung up on the hows and the whens, but knowing the whats, the whys, and the who. Okay, and with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful, and let's do a quick recap. The biggest problem why people have a lack of self-esteem is because it arises from this unconscious internalization of events that have happened, upbringing, everything you've seen around you, that leads you to feeling you're not good enough, right? And how we described that was understanding this whole cycle, what thoughts you feel, what emotions you attribute to them, and how you react to them, what beliefs you have about them, and how it programs your RAS, and then what confirmations you look to as a result, and then how this becomes a conviction. The way to break this cycle, again, I would urge you to check out this video, is to consciously choose the thoughts that you want to focus on. And when you focus on those thoughts, see how good it makes you feel. This is why visualization is so powerful. You look at what you want. The thought becomes, I want this, this, and this. And what does it make you feel? And then you let that emotion arise within you. And as the emotion arises, then it starts to slowly form itself as a belief. And then you start to look at, automatically your mind starts to look at proof. Oh, look, it is happening. This is starting to happen. That's starting to happen. Life is starting to go well. Just like with people like Tia, right? She went through the program week 1, gets a little more clarity, like, oh, this is what I need to do to break out of it. Oh, look, it is working. She's counting her blessings. This is what we do. When you confirm things that are going your way, you count your blessings. When you become grateful for what you have, you count your blessings. And you give your mind proof that things are going your way. This is very, very key. This is why gratitude is so powerful, right? And really the 3 biggest problems that prevent people from getting this natural self-esteem is, number 1, this resistance. You keep going back and forth in this scale. One day when things go well, you're confident. Next day, when your whole worldview gets destroyed, you become unconfident. Instead of just accepting what is and accepting who you are, you just try to set up these expectations of how things should be, and you hold on to them. And this scale kills you. So the key to overcoming that is acceptance and allowing yourself to experience, allowing yourself to have. Problem number 2, groundedness. You become too grounded in your current reality, so you can't experience what you want to experience. You can't commit fully. You don't double down on what you want, but you keep holding on to the safety of what you have. If you keep holding on to the safety of what you have and the comfort of what you have, that'll lead to stagnation. If you keep thinking the same thoughts, going to the same workplace, meeting the same people, eating the same food, taking the same train ride, how do you expect this pattern to change? There's got to be a disruption of this pattern if you want to expand out of your comfort zone. So always double down on what you do want. Take that leap of faith, but don't jump the gun. Go at it slowly. Finally, problem number 3 is getting clear. Most people lack this clarity, so they just naturally can't double down on what they want. How are you supposed to move in a direction if you don't even know what direction to move towards? You're going to constantly be doubting yourself if there is no direction, right? So the way to find your North Star, your Polaris, is understanding what a general vision of what you want to move towards 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what you want life to look like. Building up on that. Again, this is a whole system. This is a whole system we do in the Reality Mastery Program. But if you understand these 3 keys, a lot of the things you've been struggling with, they won't be a struggle anymore. But with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And also, I'm super excited to announce, as I mentioned before, a couple of spots have opened up for the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery Program. If you're a professional, you're looking to transition out and start up your own business, and you see that the problem isn't the business opportunities and the models, but it's you. Who you are is lacking this clarity, is only worthy of the cubicle, so you can't break out of it. If that sounds like you, then this is who we help. So click on the link in the description below to sign up for the consult, and I'll see you there. People who are entrepreneurs as well, they're stuck at a certain revenue level, they want to scale up and make more money. And what they're seeing is they have the business tactics, strategies, formulae, funnels, copywriting, sales tactics. It was never the tactics and strategies that were the problem, but it was you. Who you are isn't even receptive. Your RAS is programmed for the 5K, 10K month. the opportunities that are in your worldview right now all correspond to the 5K, 10K month and you can't scale up. If that sounds like you, again, click on the link in the description below to sign up for the consult, fill up a quick, short survey, and let's see if we're fit to work together. And the free Facebook group is also open for you to take advantage of. Again, we're making sure that we get the right kinds of people in, so please fill out that 3-question survey that it prompts you for. If you don't, we can't accept your application. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace!